You're watching All About Money on HKIBC. I'm Isabel Wong. Well, when it comes to running a small and medium business, many will tell you cash rules. While making sales is important, cash flow management is equally important because unpaid invoices can cripple business operations. In the export sector alone, Hong Kong's receivables market size for SMEs accounts for an estimated $413 billion annually. Our next guest, Fintech platform allows digital trading of corporate receivables and has recently closed a $50 million Series A to expand in mainland China with the support of Alibaba and Chinese fintech conglomerate Creditease. Let's bring in Andy Chang, QURITAL co-founder and chairman. But do tell us, what does QURITAL do and how does the platform work?
So the platform works by connecting Hong Kong SMEs, small and medium enterprises, with institutional investors on the other end. So first of all, a lot of these small and medium enterprises are doing business with large buyers, such as 7-Eleven, Costco, Disneyland. It actually takes between 60 to 90 days to receive payment after delivering their goods or services. So instead of waiting for payment in, let's say, 60 or 90 days, they will get paid immediately by selling their accounts receivables through our platform directly to institutional investors, such as hedge funds, family offices, and banks on the other side. So this process all operates through our online digital platform and allows the SMEs to receive cash immediately and the investors to get an attractive return and access to these large corporates' accounts payable credit.
Right, so what's the average size of receivables or invoices that you guys are dealing with on a daily basis?
Yeah, because we're dealing with SMEs, the range of invoice sizes varies. It goes from anywhere from $5,000 up to 500,000, but on average, I would say $80,000 is our sweet spot.
Right, so in terms of your company, you offer this kind of service where you guys help SMEs to finance their operations and connect them to institutional investors. But how do you make money? How do you scale in terms of offering this service?
So we actually charge both sides of the marketplace. For the SMEs, which we call the sellers, they pay us a platform fee for using the platform and its services, and that's usually between 0.5 to 1% of the invoice value. And then secondly, we charge a funder commission from the funders, which is about 20% of their gain that they receive from using the platform and any returns that they generate.
So initially, when you started this business, why did you think there was white space for such service? Where did you see opportunities in this market?
So we saw that Hong Kong was actually a very large market for SMEs. There's over 330,000 SMEs in Hong Kong alone. And Hong Kong is one of the largest export markets in the world. It's actually ranked 7th in the world in export volume. And a large proportion of this is generated by SMEs focused on exporting to the markets around the world, whether that's the West or to the rest of Asia. So Hong Kong has, since it's very close to China, it's a lot of volume of exports, either directly or re-exports from China. So we saw that this market is heavily geared towards open account payment terms between 30 to 90 days. And so Hong Kong has a lot of SMEs and a lot of accounts receivables. And on the other side of the market, it also has a lot of institutional investors. Hong Kong has over, I think, 15,000 professional investors. So this number creates, supply and demand for both sides of the market.
And then I know that most of the SMEs in Hong Kong, obviously, many of them are family-run offices, and they might not be as tech-savvy. I do know that in order to provide this kind of service, like connecting SMEs and institutional investors, you guys did leverage technology into into your business operations. So can you tell us about some of the technologies that you guys use?
Right. So we have, for the SME side, we have digital KYCs, we have fraud detection technologies. All of the onboarding process is done online digitally. And then same for the other side of the market for our funders, or we call the investors on the market. They also go through a digital KYC and onboarding process as well. So it's very easy to use. We run auctions daily from 10 a.m. to the next day, 10 a.m. So 24-hour auctions, Mondays through Fridays. So it gives a lot of flexibility in terms of the time for trading for the investors. So far, the investors have been giving us good feedback on how we run the trading platform.
Yeah, of course, your platform does offer a space for SMEs in Hong Kong to, say, have better access to liquidity and cash. So in order for an SME to be qualified to sell their invoices and receivables on your platform, like what kind of procedure will they have to go through and how to be qualified?
Right, they have to be running businesses for at least 12 months in operations. They need to give us their latest bank statements, their financial statements, and then most importantly is their track record with their buyer. So if you say you're doing business with XYZ buyer, then we need to see your previous invoices, your shipping documents, your purchase orders, things like that, your delivery notes, to make sure that you have a genuine relationship with your buyer. And then usually the process takes between 3 to 7 business days if all documentation is completed.
And do you use any, say, how do you measure the credit worthiness of these individual SMEs? Because obviously these SMEs, they are finding it difficult to borrow from, say, institutional banks or like those companies and also lenders. So what kind of metrics do you use to measure the credit worthiness?
There's a wide range of data points that we use for each SME. But mainly in a receivables transaction, the main credit that you're undertaking is actually from the buyer themselves. So when we trade with publicly listed companies on the other side of the equation, let's say the SME is selling goods to a large publicly investment grade company, then most of the credit risk is on the buyer. If the SME is trading with a private company, then we rely on trade credit insurance. So we have trade credit insurance partners that we partner with to make sure that the trade, even if the buyer defaults, the insurance company, which is also an investment grade company, can, with a high credit rating, can sustain and mitigate that loss.
And let's say one SME, it's qualified to sell invoices on your platform, but then for 1 or 2 of the invoices, they failed to collect the cash for those invoices. So what will happen in the end?
So the first point of recourse is, of course, to the buyer. If that isn't being able to be collected, then we go through the trade credit insurance agency. And then once that is if the insurance claim is not able to be processed, then we have recourse finally to the SME as well.
So initially you created this account receivables, you created like a new asset class for the Hong Kong market and Hong Kong investors. So obviously you just mentioned most of your investors, most of the funders are institutional investors. But what about, say, one of our viewers, they see opportunity in terms of investing in this kind of asset class. Like what would they have to do in order to qualify being one of the funders?
Right. We only accept professional investors on our platform, so we do not cater to the retail market. For a professional investor in Hong Kong, they must have, asset proof of over 8 million Hong Kong dollars in assets outside of their place of living, and so that is a requirement to be on our platform. But we're working hard to work with other financial institutions to see if we can structure more different facilities that everyone can have access to as well in the future. Yeah.
I do know that you have partnerships with Alibaba, and actually the Chinese firm Creditease is one of your biggest investors. So can you tell us about the partnerships with these Chinese companies? How do they help with your growth? Like, what are you planning to achieve from these partnerships?
So we work with Alibaba.com, the exporter and importer marketplace, where they are able to have a wide database of Hong Kong and Asian exporters. So we are able to tap into this by having their gold suppliers, which are rated by Alibaba. And if they go through our platform, there's a very quick, expedient process that we can onboard them, so they are able to come onto the platform at cheaper rates and also in a quicker process. For Creditease, they have many offshore funds sources as well, and we are working with them to onboard them as a funder on our platform. So the SMEs have more range of and more diversified portfolio of different investors that they can get funding from.